Okay, so I'm going to have you guys all text Kimberly Erni 0006 to the number 22333. And this will be a little interactive. So while you're doing that, a little bit about me. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I'll give you a second. What's that? Oh. Thank you. So yeah, 2 zeros, not one, or not 3. Do you guys still need that up, or? Okay. Yes, 2 zeros. Okay, am I good to go? Okay, so a little bit about me. I like to ride the one wheel. This is my husband and I. And I like to make flower arrangements, so I made my own bouquet and boutonniere. We got married in December. So I went from being Johnson to Ernie this year. And I also like to make amigurumi pets for my nieces and nephews, if I have any fellow stuffed animal makers here. And this is my family. They're great. So the first question is, I just want to know a little bit about you guys. Where are you guys all from up here? So go ahead and text that to that number. Oh, it's splitting up our New Orleans. So fun. It's fun to see where everyone's from. Alrighty, that's awesome. Okay, I'm gonna move on. What company are you guys working with? I just want to get a gist of that. And then a third get to know you question is, what stack are you working in professionally, or what language? We have some Rubies here still. That's awesome. Cool. Rust. Letting it crash. That's great. Alrighty. So I graduated from BYU, Brigham Young University, and I studied math at Dixie State before that, and I ended up getting my degree in family life. Right after that, I started studying Elixir. So one thing that I did learn from the School of Family Life was my professor shared this video with us on the power of grit. And this woman, she was a 7th grade math teacher, and was surprised by her students who were successful versus the ones who weren't, and went on to get a PhD in psychology and studied what makes people more successful. So here's a little video on her. We don't have sound, do we? That's okay. So she found that what differentiated people was the power of grit, which is just having passion and the ability to persevere for a long time. So not just for the week, but for the long haul. And that's something that I have had to develop, and something that I really love about the community here is we're a lot of gritty people, so you can laugh. Right after graduating from school, I went to an Elixir conference online because it was COVID, and just started learning. My dad had told me that was a good language to go. So who here would consider themselves a self-taught developer? That's awesome. Yeah, you can raise your hands or do the poll. Yeah, there's a good percentage that did take the traditional route, and a good percentage of us who did not. So that's awesome. And does anyone else have Elixir as their first language? Raise of hands who has Elixir as their first language. There's one other person. Oh, yay, Flora, right? Or yes, that's awesome. You'll have to tell me your story later. Okay. And we're gonna skip that one. So right after graduating, I started working with my dad, and he's an internal medical doctor who doesn't like the current medical records. He's also just a hobbyist in programming. He wrote his own medical record, and he loved Ruby, and now he loves Elixir, and so he told me to learn Elixir if I wanted to get into it. I thought maybe I could write his medical record in 3 months if I just started learning, but I was very naive, obviously. I started with a little Udemy course, and I enjoyed it. I liked their use of diagrams, and their examples were good. And then I went from Salt Lake to St. George to homeschool my cousin, and I taught her 5th grade, and while I taught her 5th grade, I would watch the Pragmatic Studio videos, and I learned a lot from them. They're very organized, and I felt like they gave handy tricks along the way, and they'd show me one way to do it and then refactor it for the more idiomatic way. So I appreciated their courses. I'd watch it again and again. I'd also ride around my one wheel and listen to a little Elixir and OTP, thinking if I listened, I might get something out of my one wheel rides, you know? And then I moved back to Salt Lake, and I started working as a stretch practitioner at the Stretch Zone. And being graduated from school and in this zone of not having a career yet, I found a lot of people who were more than willing to tell me all the ways I needed to improve to get a career. And one of them, that was just so happened to be his job, and he told me I needed to get on LinkedIn. He said, friends hire friends, and you need to make friends. So I sought out some friends, and I met John Forsyth, and he became my mentor. Something I liked about him and something I tried to do is read a chapter and then read the chapter again so I can absorb the information. And we'd go over Advent of Code or exorcism problems, and he's been great. Shortly after that, I also messaged someone else on LinkedIn, and they said I could come job shadow them, and they sent me home with the interview question, and I was like, oh, great. And it actually was really scary for me. I tried to do it, and anyways, I'd never worked with an API, and that just faded. And then I also reached out to Grox.io. I saw a little YouTube video, and at the end of it, it was like, we offer scholarships. And so I emailed, and I was like, hey, can I get a scholarship? And Bruce was so nice to let me come do his live view course. And so I very appreciate Bruce for mentoring me and getting me in with John Cotton and Brett Wise. And there's one more. Jeffrey Matthias is here. All three of them were very instrumental in helping me along the way to learn Elixir. Some things that I like about Bruce is he taught this construct, reduce, convert. So you construct your data type, you then do some work on the data type, and then you change it into the data type that you need. So there's an example of it, and you'll see that in like Elixir books as well, this concept. He also helped me separate out the concerns of the core boundary and the API, and I kind of learned that there's different layers of the application through him. And yeah, something else I love to do is listen to podcasts. Who here listens to podcasts? You listen? That's awesome. I listened to a lot of Thinking Elixir and Elixir Wizards. Elixir Wizards had a girl named Anna Sherman on it who is from Chattanooga, and she shared her experience about making herself a boot camp, and she just like locked herself in a basement for 2 months and then got a job, convinced someone to hire her. So I was like, if she can do it, maybe I can do it too. And that was helpful. And shortly after, I just got a message in my LinkedIn saying, hey, we want to interview you. And someone that I was stretching at the stretch zone, again, wanted to give me some advice. And he's like, so you're saying that you could lock yourself in your basement and get a job this quickly? What are you doing here? And so after he messaged me and that person at the stretch zone said that to me, I think I quit that day. And I also quit nanning. And I just started studying. And I interviewed with him. It didn't work out. So I called my brother. I asked him for advice. He's also a developer. And he just promised, he's like, something's going to work out for you, Kim. And seek for a company who's going to help support you in your growth. And he also was like, you can come work for my little startup if you want. But this came really quickly after that, and I didn't end up doing anything with the startup. So I applied for Travel Pass, and Austin, the president of the company, reached out saying that they wanted to interview me. So I interviewed with Alan, who's not here, and he sent me home with this code assessment, and that was on the 18th of January, 2022, and then I was leaving to Hawaii the next week. I knew I had a little snippet of time where I could get some help from Jeffrey Matthias on Thursday with Grox.io to help me test my code. And so I wrote everything the best I could, had him help me test it, and then I submitted my code. And this is my code. Yay. And I got a message saying that they wanted to call me and to talk about potentially giving me an internship. So I was like, oh, like, okay, not sure how I feel about an internship, but that's better than nothing. And again, I asked my brother, and he's like, if they're gonna help you get where you need to go or where you need to be, and like you should do it. So I did it. And I accepted that first job. Who here accepted their first job? You can raise hands. You can submit it. Either way. For those of you who regret it, I want to hear your stories, so find me later. That's awesome. So some things I love about Travel Pass is they've had a great culture. I felt supported along my journey of trying to learn all the, who was it who gave this talk on failure today? All my failure, I felt like they were supportive of. Great leadership, and I've enjoyed the squads, and I'll go over some of these things. These are our growth goals. I'll talk about them a little bit later, but it's just nice because I can see what level I'm at and how I can progress to the next level. That's been helpful. So if you're interested in implementing anything like that, talk to Jake. I think he helped implement that. And that, like I said, it can be kind of challenging when you're super duper new. And this is a little video. I won't play it because there's no sound. But this little girl's like, she's like this little girl, and she's like, I'm just a baby. And then she gets really frustrated. And she's like, I'm just a baby. And that's how I felt a lot of times. Or I felt like this little spinning turtle. And, you know, eventually everyone comes and is like, here you go. We'll help you out. And there I go. I'm back on my feet. So, yeah. This is a picture of unsuccessful people versus successful people. And I think we probably all spent some time in both places. At least I know I have. Especially at the beginning of things. Alan, who hired me, was like, you're newer than we thought you were. And that was like, yeah. And Josh was my team lead at the time, and he's like, you'll get there. I was like, okay. So they decided to take me off any project and just have me study. And then they gave me little bite-sized things to do. Josh was great at helping me find little projects like adding a type spec or adding tests. And I used Jeffrey Mathias's book on testing to help me write some tests. And I also learned some Ecto, and I thought if I could teach this to everyone, show them that I'm trying to learn database stuff, they're like, you know nothing about Postgres or SQL, and I was like, okay. So tried to learn some of that. And yeah, so what are some of your guys' favorite learning resources? Yeah, Exorcism's great. Elixir in Action. Prog. I don't know what Rudolph is. Oh, is this like... That's great. I'll probably look back on all of these. Some of these gave you a good laugh. That's good. Great. And then something else I've wondered is just who here has contributed to learning resources? If you could put your, if you have, just type what you've done and your name so I can know to find you. I know we have at least a few. I've talked to a number of you who have contributed to learning resources. Okay. So after I, learned quite a bit more, I took ownership on a little project. Our company's called Travel Pass, and what we do is we take the APIs from Expedia, Priceline, lots of hotels. There's about 9 of them. And we combine all of their hotels, like match on their rooms and everything, and we try to get the best prices to you in the quickest amount of time that we can. So you don't have to bother going to Expedia or Priceline. You can just come to us. And something that needed help was the amenities list. If you can imagine having amenities from Expedia, Priceline, lots of hotels, and all the different ways they would say it about this one hotel, the list got really big. So I looked in the database, wrote some Ecto queries to figure out what was all in there, and I just made the amenities list nice and pretty. So that was great. And sometime in between all of that, I got hired on full time. So, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so I was very excited. But I also felt like this little plant, this is my plant. Like I said, I love flowers. And so here's a little flower analogy for you guys. So, but you guys see it on this board. So, so this little guy, he had 4 budding flowers. And I'm just going to say there's technical ability, planning, execution, influence, and anti-patterns. So all these things that I was supposed to develop in. And slowly over time, I'm getting closer and closer to being that. And then I end up here again. And I become that again in each area, I feel like. So it can be challenging sometimes. But something else I learned from my family life degree is that families function best when they're in an environment of high structure and high love. And the way that I've seen Trial of Past give good structure has been to support me every week with weekly one-on-ones and go over those growth charts. And then we meet every day and give our progress on our tasks. And then we also have a product development process, which hasn't always been there, but we just got one. So I'll share that a little bit later. Some of the technical skills I've developed are all of these. These are some of the projects I've worked on, sending data to the Kinesis stream. That was a little bit of a gen server stuff that I didn't write the gen server stuff, but I've, looked over the code. I helped make our profiles page, which still breaks sometimes, so figuring that one out. We made this trip planning tool, which we're working on. We're gonna make it better, so it's not released yet. And then I did, if you wanna book a number of different rooms, I did the back-end GraphQL stuff for that just recently. And Jake's been trying to help me move batch functions over to data loader, and anyways, there's that. This is our product development process. Now that it's in place, I think we'll be better. And some things I'm currently working on doing is just going through Elixir in action, and I am listening to, who's listened to the Pragmatic Program, or the Pragmatic Programmer. Yeah, that's the name of the book. Who's listened to that? Yeah? It's really good. They have a lot of good advice. I'm like, I do need to be reading a technical book and a non-technical book every month, but that's hard to do. And then I also want to get good at bug fixing, so thank you, Amos, wherever you are, for giving some tips on that. And something else that's been exciting is, so last year we started moving everything over to Elixir from Ruby, and we had 2 websites up already that were on Ruby that's been bringing in our revenue, but we wanted to make a very user-friendly, so you can get out your phones and check out our website if you want. We wanted to make a more user-friendly, good website for everyone, and we moved it over to Elixir, and just this May, we launched it. 2023, that should say. Not 2021. This was this month. Yeah, so that was exciting. This is the cutest little video, and if there was sound, it's one oh gosh, guys, listen closely, because it's just so good. Can you guys hear that at all?
How we work hard and do our best, and even though we fail, it's still okay. Even failing is good. That's how you learn. You learned, and then you're like, okay, I failed. It's okay. Now I know how to do it. Well, basically, everyone is my age, but some are 6 and 7, and also, they work hard, and they do the same as me. They also fail, and other people help them, and they learn better. We put a cardboard box on the wall, and then another one was like this, and then we put a track on it, and then it didn't work. Then we tried lots of times, but then it didn't work, and then we tried one more time, and it did work. Failing actually helps you learn new things.
That's my cute little cousin's daughter. She's adorable, and then you might appreciate that too. Failing helps us learn new things. So I'm just grateful that I've had the chance to learn new things and had a opportunity to have a platform with TravelFast where I could try and fail and get better. So I don't know how much time we have, but if we want to do some Q&A, Brett? 'Kay, 4 minutes. So if you guys want to share what challenges you've faced as a software engineer, you can also raise your hands as well if you're more comfortable, whichever way. Never let it crash. Yeah. Work-life balance, yeah. Sometimes you're like a little puppy dog, you know? You just feel like you need to learn everything.
So for someone who doesn't have an innate sense of this like grit or bouncing back from things, what kind of advice would you give to them if they're encountering a struggle that seems too big?
Oh gosh, I need your guys' answers from that. Um,
Answers from the audience.
yeah, I do have a thought on that because I think something I've really been trying to learn is how to do things on my own, but also how to reach out for help, and finding that balance that's honestly been a struggle for me because I feel like I'm bugging people, and I also sometimes I'm lazy and I don't want to look for the answers because it stresses me out to go to all the documentation. I don't know if I'm the best person to ask that question to, but you should get other answers. Repeat that question again.
Yeah, the question was if you are overwhelmed by a problem,
What do you do?
and what do you do?
I think, yeah,
Have a lot of grit.
if you don't have grit. Oh gosh, yeah, what would you guys say?
I'll have an answer.
Yeah.
If you feel like you can't break the problem down yourself, you find somebody who can help you, but breaking the problem is
Yeah.
the important thing.
Yeah.
Parts.
I like that.
Smaller parts, smaller bites.
Yeah, that is a very good one. Yeah, wow, I'm sorry you guys had to get yelled at. That one's sad. Or harassment. Okay, imposter syndrome, yes. How are we doing on time?
2 minutes.
Okay. So yeah, what advice do you have for new developers, those who have been here?
Consistently just come back to learning.
Yeah,
And don't expect it to happen overnight. It'll take years and years, and it'll never stop.
I like that. Like, try again. Someone said today, try again the next day.
One of your first questions was how were you taught? Were you traditional? Did you go through self-taught or something different? And it's funny, I felt like answering self-taught even though I had a sales background, because once you get into the industry, none of that really matters as much, right? You're always learning and you're always picking something new up. So
Yeah, that is so true. Yeah. That's awesome. And how are we doing? Are we good?
let's
Wrap it?
that's it.
Okay. That's great. Well, thanks, guys.